All right, everybody. Hi, hello. I'm Gray. Today we have Nathaniel, William, or Wilkamz, and Ian, or the Metal Gladiator, and we're going to do a movie discussion of The Batman, Robert Pattinson's version. Before we get started, we did want to mention we are trying to come up with a name for our movie discussion group, of which it is my first time joining, so I don't know why I'm the one telling you guys this, but here we are. So we have two options and one really good option. So we have Cinephiles of the Round Table, Silver Screen Symposium, say that fast 5 times, and the really good option, we have Hentai with Senpai, which if we do choose that, we will exclusively review hentai from here on out. All right, yeah, that's it for the intros. Here we go.
Oh, God. So, yeah, the Batman.
Batman.
The Batman.
Let's just segue from that real quick.
Yeah. Let's just start with, like, just first impressions, just, like, basic stuff, and then we'll start digging into the nitty-gritty.
I have a question.
Yes.
No.
Is this spoiler talk?
This is a
Yes.
spoiler review, yes.
Yes.
If you haven't seen The Batman, go
feel
watch
like-
it. It's on
I
HBO
feel like
Max.
people always ask
Do it.
so that we talk about it in the beginning of the video or something. I don't know.
Yes,
I just
yeah.
feel like they
Yeah.
always ask about that.
Yes.
It's a good question to
Sometimes
ask.
I do forget to mention that, yes, it is a
Yeah.
spoiler discussion.
But yeah,
But film
usually,
discussion is always
we
spoiler.
usually do older movies though, and this is fairly new. So
This is the newest one we've done.
yes,
Yeah.
so we need to. I just wanted to make sure that we got that out of the way first.
20.
But anyway,
Yeah, so who wants to start? First impressions.
First impressions. Yeah, that pretty much sums it up right there.
I thought Ian was
Very
going to just dive
insightful.
right into it. I mean, I'll just start. So like, I'm not gonna lie, I have a very short attention span nowadays. When I see a 2 hour and 53 minute runtime on any film, I get kind of nervous unless it's a Lord of the Rings extended cut.
Those are longer.
And
than
yeah. And so like, I was very impressed by how quickly the movie just drew you in. Like I was like 15 minutes in and just instantly was like, okay, I can't not watch the rest of this. I'm not gonna get bored. And and that held for the entirety of the movie. I felt like it didn't lull. I felt like it didn't drag. I felt like there was always a purpose behind whatever was going on in the film at the time.
yeah,
That was the thing that stuck out to me the most at first.
right. When I went and saw it in theaters, it ended, and I was like, "That was 2 hours. That was nearly 3 hours. Like, what?" And then one of the people I went and saw it with was like, "That movie was too long." And I was like, "What are you talking about? That went by so fast."
I totally agree. I was quite excited about Robert Pattinson playing Batman. Well, I guess this could be kind of like first impressions before the movie that I'm talking about right here now, but I'm glad that he did that role. I think he was perfect in this movie. That was kind of like the one thing that was really drawing me into the movie was Robert Pattinson as Batman.
A lot of people thought before, when it was announced that he was going to be in it, they were like really upset. Like, this is going to be terrible. You got the Twilight guy doing.
I did that.
Yeah,
I don't know if you remember that.
I have not seen Twilight.
I've seen
two movies with
enough
him
of it.
before, and I saw Good Time, which is a great movie. We'll do that on here sometime. And The Lighthouse. And I was like, I don't know what y'all are talking about, but this dude can act.
Yeah, I hadn't seen him in anything.
Mm.
I had seen a bunch of clips from Twilight, but I hadn't seen any other things that he had done. So when they announced it, and I think you sent it into the group chat, I was like, really?
Yeah.
And then you were like, have you seen Good Time? I was like, no. And then you were like, go watch that. And I was like, all right. So I went and watched it. I was like, all right, he'll make a great Batman, 100%.
And with that being said, they do lean a little bit more into like the kind of dark, broody, emo Batman a little bit. They do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think it still works because like right at the beginning, they let you know this is his second year as Batman. Like he's
he's
basically a kid at this point.
Yeah,
like,
he's still new.
Yeah. And so that was like me going into the movie. I was skeptically optimistic. I hadn't really seen much from the director, Matt Reeves, so I wasn't like real sure. But I was like, I just want an enjoyable Batman movie, you know?
Yeah.
But then I came out of that like so happy. One of the things that really stuck out to me, like first impression, that was like, I love that they went back more to his origins in Detective Comics, where Batman started out. This was a detective movie first.
Yes.
And it was not primarily an action movie like most superhero movies are, no matter who it is, right? And most Batman movies are action movies.
Right.
So I really appreciate that this was a detective movie first.
Yes.
And
When I
just going
heard
back
that, Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. Going back to what you said about it being the year 2 for him, so like showing his beginnings, I really, something I appreciate about that I didn't realize I kind of missed, and let's just compare it to like most popular Batman in recent history minus this, Christopher Nolan.
Yeah.
You know, Christopher Nolan's Batman, and that was something that after seeing this, I wish had been expounded upon more in the Christopher Nolan, because it doesn't really, I felt like Christopher Nolan didn't really break into the struggles of the early Batman. Like you showed him getting his gear, they showed him all this cool stuff, but it didn't really break into what it would mean to becoming the Batman in a city like that. It kind of just, he got angry, he came back, he beat the crap out of a bunch of criminals. Like, okay.
You see him train in that, but not, and then he's kind of just Batman, you know?
I feel like the extent of that was just training montages.
Yeah.
When Batman begins, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, and there were definitely times in this where you're like, oh yeah, he's new, because where he's like there are times where he's in fights that he's like almost losing. You're like, oh yeah, he's new. Or he'll get into situations where he doesn't have enough experience, like when he uses the like bat wing suit for the first time and hits his head on the thing and falls over and splats on the ground.
Yeah.
That scene was interesting to me, just now that you brought it up, because that was the one scene that, in my opinion, kind of stuck out a little bit in the whole film in terms of visually, because that was the scene that to me, I was like, it doesn't look right. Like you can tell, and it was a short scene, like it was a 15-second blurb, but I saw that and I'm like, that is such an obvious green screen. That is such an obvious like departure from how the rest of this film I felt like was shot and filmed. And then I thought about it more and I was like, well, that honestly was probably more of a throwback to the way a lot of the original Batman and stuff like that was filmed. And I wanted to be positive. That was the whole thing. It wasn't, but I'm trying to be positive about it, because that scene definitely, I watched it. I went back and watched it like half an hour ago and I was like, yeah, it still sticks out.
Yeah.
It still looks kind of, it just looks weird in contrast with the rest of the film, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it did look a little. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was a big fan of the GoPro style shot looking at him. I don't know. I don't know how I feel about that. That was very out of place.
That
was
sequence did
weird.
stick out. It did stick out for sure.
Not for a good reason, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I thought I was kind of being a little nitpicky about it, but I saw someone on TikTok bring that up too, and I was like, oh, okay. So it wasn't just me.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
See, the newcomer Gray. This is a part of the podcast where we have awkward silences. And what about
Where we try to think of stuff to say.
look off camera and is distracted by something else.
But yeah, I agree with William that it was a really good choice to focus on the detective part of Batman, because that is a very important part to his character that none of the other Batman movies have really explored. Like, they did a little bit, but like not to the extent that this one did. Like, this was a detective serial killer movie, which was, it just fits so well, and
yeah,
the tone that they stuck with, they did a really good job of keeping that consistent throughout the movie, which I really appreciated. And this movie, I hope that this movie, this and the Joker, I hope they show that we can make good superhero movies and still make good movies.
yeah.
Not saying that. I mean, there are some superhero movies that are just not great movies,
Yeah.
but they're like good superhero movies.
Yeah, most of them
But
just aim to be fun, but not to be like a
Yeah.
good piece of cinema.
Yeah, I do think we're kind of heading in that direction too, because I feel like a lot of the superhero movies within the past like 2 years have come out have all been like pretty. They feel like they're like changing in a good way, for the most part. There's still been some stinkers, but
I feel like that's largely due to the saturation that we've had of superhero movies, to where
that's
like people are only going to enjoy the flashy crap for so long. Like eventually you're going to start being like, wow, another Avengers film. That's
been going on like
right.
7 something years, more than that.
Yeah, it's been going on forever.
Which, I mean, cinema goes through these. It's always gone through these cycles, where you know, noir was the most popular thing. Westerns were the most popular thing. Fantasy was, you know, like it all goes through these cycles of, you know, 10 years or so, and then they just kind of disappear into obscurity. And it's like,
or
you get one here and
in a way.
there, but it's not
Yeah.
every blockbuster coming out is
Right.
a Western, you know.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, you know, that was the thing.
Yeah. But
And I think we're definitely seeing that change now. I'm not certain that the superhero movies are going away within these next few years, but they're definitely changing.
Yeah, which, I mean,
the
if
way they
do
make
want
them.
to stick around, they'll have to.
Right.
they're going to need to slow down release and actually go for quality over quantity, because like he's just saying, you know, quantity won't
It gets
last
hard
forever.
to keep up with, too.
Yeah.
Like,
And the more you keep pushing out, the lower the quality gets in every single one of them. It just keeps dropping.
yeah.
That's like the same argument with like these video games like Call of Duty and Assassin's Creed that just bust out a game every year for so long, you know.
Yep.
You start off so well, and then you just slowly get worse and worse because this gets more and more pressure.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
going back to what you guys were talking about with this being primarily a detective film, like something I realized was that this movie, it really could have been like a good metric that I sometimes will take for a superhero movie is, okay, if you take the name out of it, can it still be a good film? Because like a lot of the Marvel movies, you can't do that. If you took out these hugely popular Avengers and plug in some minor superheroes, nobody would care, you know. And so like with the Batman, you legitimately that could have just been a detective film. Like without the Batman, the writing, the story, all of that would still stand up. Just being a regular, like Will said, a regular serial killer detective film, it could have stood up without it being Batman. And I think that was something I really appreciated about it, was I didn't feel like I was watching another Batman, another superhero movie. It was a detective film about a really good superhero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought that up too, because that's a good
yeah.
point to make with like these kind of movies. Is it still a good movie if you take that aspect out, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the first Marvel movies that comes to mind when talking about that for me is Captain Marvel. That movie did really, really well at the box office, but it was one of the most mediocre movies I've ever seen in my life. Because, like, if you change the fact that A, it's a Marvel movie, and B, who the character is, like, if it's just some, like, if it had come out, yeah, if you just took the Marvel label off of it, and it was just some random character that someone had created for that movie, nobody would have cared about that movie at all.
Yeah. Aren't they doing a second one?
Yes.
Oof.
But I'm hoping that it's better because it's not going to be just about Captain Marvel. It's going to have 2 new characters in it. One who showed up in another thing who actually is a decent character. And then a new character who in the comics is a pretty good character. So we'll see how that goes.
They've ruined enough.
Yeah. We'll see.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I really like that the villain pick that they went with, the Riddler. I think, and especially this portrayal of the Riddler was very well done, and it fit very well with the detective story.
And Paul Dano was the perfect pick.
Paul Dano is so good.
Amazing.
He filled that role so perfectly.
The casting in general for this movie was perfect.
Yeah.
Yes.
I feel like
I don't have
they did
any complaints.
They did for Riddler in this movie what The Dark Knight did for Joker. It's like, if this was a real dude, this is what he would be like. And you know, to think you could do something like that for the Riddler. I mean, especially if you don't know any comic book material and you've only seen
or the
Jim
Riddler
Carrey Riddler.
The Riddler is a super cheesy villain.
Yeah.
But they
Jim
did.
Carrey was in.
I appreciate this movie for the simple fact that I can think of the Riddler and think of this and not think of Jim Carrey dancing around.
Hey, listen, Jim Carrey's Riddler was not bad. Like, it was a good representation of. It was a good representation of the comic book version.
I'm sure it was. I don't really like Jim Carrey all that much.
That's fair. That's fair.
Jim Carrey's Riddler was a representation of the time, really.
Yeah.
Like, he worked with what he was given.
Yep.
And Tommy Lee Jones wanted to kill him for it, which...
Fair.
I can't pretend like I wouldn't blame him for, but...
Yeah.
I won't hate on Jim Carrey's Riddler for the express purpose of the time frame, the film he was in, and what he had to work with.
Yeah. I think I'd prefer to watch Jim Carrey Riddler over Arnold Schwarzenegger, Mr. Freeze.
Hey, don't you talk crap about Arnold Schwarzenegger's Mr. Freeze, okay?
That was the greatest villain of all time.
All time. You thought it was Darth Vader? No, it's Mr. Freeze, Arnold Schwarzenegger, okay?
Mr. Freeze is the iconic villain.
Darth Vader who?
Exactly.
Can't believe I just
while we're talking about the casting, someone I never really pictured in my head as playing James Gordon was Jeffrey Wright, but as soon as I saw in the trailer or it was announced or whatever, the first place I saw it, I was like, that is perfect. That is the best casting for James Gordon I have ever seen. And he did not disappoint in the movie. He was perfect.
Yeah, he was really good.
And I can't wait to see him again as that as Gordon, because he was.
That's one of those roles too. I feel like there are a couple of Batman roles, Gordon being one, and then Alfred being another, where it's like, I don't know that we've gotten a bad one. Like, I feel like each representation that they've had has been good in their own way.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't you can't discredit Gary Oldman and Michael Caine. in their roles because they were fantastic.
Right.
And then
even
like
back
Jeffrey
to
Wright was amazing too.
To the old Tim Burton Batmans, I feel like I don't remember Gordon so much in those, but Alfred.
Yeah, I don't either.
Alfred was in that one was a an old Hammer actor. He was in like Christopher Lee's Dracula and stuff, Horror of Dracula.
Really, I didn't know that.
Yeah, he played Alfred in the '89 Batman.
Yeah, I don't think we have gotten any bad performances from them per se.
Yeah, even like the show Gotham, which is not like a great show, but I think Gordon and Alfred are some of the best actors on on the show. And like I actually legitimately like them in those roles.
Yeah.
I haven't seen too much of Gotham. I've seen enough to say that I do like him as, I can't remember his name, but I do like who they got to play James Gordon.
Yeah.
I've only seen like 2 episodes, so but I do.
The guy who played Alfred in Gotham is the son of one of
The doctors.
the doctors in Doctor Who.
Yeah. Sean Pertwee or whatever.
Yeah.
He was in
Pertwee.
Dog Soldiers, Ian.
Ah.
He was like one of the last ones alive that wasn't the main character.
Was he the sergeant of the group?
Mhm. Yeah.
Okay. I know who you're talking
He's Alfred in Gotham. And he is a very different Alfred, but I love him as Alfred.
about. I can definitely see Alfred throwing some fist fights with some werewolves, you know.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, I did really like. I really liked Andy Serkis as.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was he was.
And now Voldemort and Gollum have played Alfred. I think that's just hilarious.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, Andy Serkis, I love him in almost everything I see him in.
Yeah.
Like
now we just
legitimately.
need Ian McDermott to play Alfred. That's his name, right? Did I get that right? Something like that, close to that.
I don't know who you're talking about. So.
Emperor Palpatine.
Oh.
Ah.
Yeah. McDermott.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
was
Speaking of casting, though, Penguin. Thoughts?
Oh yeah.
It took me so
Colin,
long.
I still can't see Colin Farrell in that
Oh,
at all.
He's not there. He disappeared. It just became the Penguin. Like,
Yeah.
I saw the eyes and I was like, I recognize this person. Like, who the heck is this person? And I'm an asshole and I'm stubborn because I was like, I don't want to look it up. I want to figure it out. And I couldn't. It's like we had to pause it to put my kid to sleep or something. So we paused it. I looked up, I'm like, holy shit, that's Colin Farrell. What the hell?
yeah. And it's funny because there's another actor, and I don't remember his name, that looks like kind of similar. That like when I first saw it, I thought of him, and I couldn't even tell you what he's in, but I saw someone else make a meme or something that was like, when you have this actor that looks, but then you put all this makeup on.
Oh,
Colin Farrell
yeah,
to
that
make
guy.
him look completely different.
He was
I don't
in
think he would
A
have
Bug's
been a good,
Life.
yeah. I don't know that he necessarily would have been a good Penguin, but that's what
Yeah.
they made Colin look like.
Yeah,
Was
he
that guy.
Yeah, I saw some video of like
Richard Kind is his name.
Richard Kind.
Yeah, he's more of a comedy actor, so I don't know if he would have been a good.
Yeah, I feel like it
Penguin.
would have been a different Penguin for sure.
Yeah,
Um,
but he looks exactly like Colin Farrell and
Yeah.
all that makeup.
so like when I first saw the trailer, man, that's who I thought it was. I thought it was that actor, not Colin Farrell.
Oh my god, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's
William,
talk about
in post production, show a picture of him in the screen.
Heard.
No pictures.
I'll try. It'll be
I think
somewhere.
Yeah.
I just want to say I think the only casting that could have made this better was Ben Affleck. Yeah, absolutely. Ben Affleck as Batman is just iconic.
I'm not sure if you're memeing on me right now or if you're being 100% serious.
No one else will be Batman. No one else will be Batman since Ben Affleck.
Because I'm not saying that Ben Affleck
I've-
would have been a bad Batman in this movie.
I just think we would have gotten a different movie.
Yeah, it would have.
Movie. He's too old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, to be fair,
Ben Affleck
I
being
did-
that old and then being like, "You've only been doing this for 2 years," would be like,
Yeah.
"What?"
Yeah, well, and I think that would have been a different, because the Batman that Ben Affleck plays in Batman v Superman is an older Batman.
Yeah.
Like, he's already been through all of Batman's villains. Like, you know, the way that him and
Yeah.
Alfred talk.
He's even
you can
had his
tell
Robins.
He's to the point where he doesn't really care anymore too if somebody gets killed in the crossfire when he's, you know, doing what he does, or, you know, he's more brutal, that kind of thing. Which I didn't mind Ben Affleck as Batman. I actually kind of liked him, especially as that older Batman that's kind of just like worn down, kind of like tired of what's going on, and that he doesn't feel like he can ever really change it because he's been doing it for so long. You know, you get those hints that, you know, he's lost Robin already. Like,
Yeah.
No, for sure. It just would have been a completely and utterly different movie. But it also, with him, it would have been part of the DCU, so it would have had to have been something completely different anyway.
right.
Right. I honestly want the DCU to continue from here.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good place to start.
It'd be nice to have Zack Snyder do a part 3 to Justice League, but
Probably never happened.
technically part 4, because his trilogy is technically like Superman,
Man of Steel.
then Batman v... Well, Man of Steel, yeah, sorry. Batman v Superman, then Justice League. So, and he definitely was setting up another movie. So it would be nice to see that, but, you know.
Probably won't happen.
Yeah. Let's
I
just
don't know if I agree with that, but
I'm gonna start crying. Don't agree with what?
Fight.
What do you don't agree with?
that it would be nice to see Zack Snyder's next movie. Because in my opinion, each one got worse. I think Man of Steel was pretty good. Batman v Superman was better than a lot of people were saying. Justice League was nah.
See, I would say that the opposite way. I would say Man of Steel is... But then Batman v Superman...
Justice League...
Unpopular opinion is really good.
Like, Zack Snyder's Justice League was everything Infinity War and Endgame tried to be. In my opinion. I liked Infinity War, but Endgame was garbage.
Endgame was not great. It was good.
I didn't like that game either.
And now,
the final
almost completely and trash talk this other movie that we
the final fight scene in, well, I guess like the final act, from the fight scene to like the end of the movie was like all just fan service, and then the rest of the movie was like fine. I enjoyed Infinity War.
Yeah, Infinity War.
It still has its problems.
I fell asleep in that too.
But I enjoyed it. But, and then, for blanking on his name, Joss Whedon, his Justice League, his version of the Justice League movie was garbage. And then Zack Snyder's director's cut was better, but I still didn't like it that much. It was fine, but it was.
Let's go back to.
Anyway, yeah. Let's.
So yeah,
back to the bat.
I feel like every podcast setting that I'm in, this always happens.
It happens every single time.
Yeah.
We get sidetracked. It happens on every one of my Metal Gladiator podcast episodes, and I feel like every attempt of a podcast that we've done in the past that was never been released, it happens. We just get sidetracked.
Yeah.
Just
It's
talk
yeah.
I mean, we just got
It's
sidetracked
just
talking
gonna
about
happen.
getting sidetracked. So
it's just gonna happen, and you have to accept it.
Yeah.
This is the podcast
Yeah.
format, everybody.
Yep.
Yeah. So back to the Batman.
Wait,
Cinematography.
we were talking about
Oh.
Yeah.
Ah.
Cinematography.
it was great.
yeah,
One of the best looking superhero movies of all time.
Did you guys? Oh, I know Gray didn't see this, but did you guys see the video that I sent about like the way he dirties up the frame and stuff?
Yes.
I don't think so, actually. I don't think I saw that. Would you send that in Discord? I don't know.
No, I sent that in the Facebook Messenger group that we have.
I missed this.
But anyway, it's just a little video essay thing about talking about how Matt Reeves in his cinematography and about how he dirties up the frame is what they call it, and basically it's just like usually like really hard focused on one like area, and then like everything around background and everything you can't really see what is back there, and so it's kind of like dirty.
Yeah. And he would also
you
use
just gotta look at it
things
to
like-
like really like I don't
Yeah.
know how to fully explain
wasn't part
it.
of wasn't part of that video also to say that like it helped connect you better, because like when it was like raining or something, and he would like, I think there was a scene when he's like driving the Batmobile, and the lens gets wet, and when violent stuff happens, like blood will hit the lens or something, stuff like that. That also helps. It helps with immersion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's an interesting thing to make. It makes all the cinematography quite beautiful by making a lot of the frame dirty.
Yeah.
And
'Cause
something I
it-
appreciate is the lighting, because in a film like that, it's very easy to lose. And you see it in a lot of AAA titles. It's obviously going to happen in cheap films when people don't have, money or the experience to really do a dark film properly. But even in a lot of the AAA titles recently, you miss, if you're in a situation like me where my TV's upstairs where a bunch of bay windows, it's bright. If the movie's dark and I'm watching it anytime before sunset, I'm screwed. That happens in a lot of them. I was watching the Batman mid-afternoon, it was still bright. I could still see what was going on. And it's so cool to see that they used darkness and light so appropriately in such a dark movie, thematically and also visually. But it was done so well that I didn't feel like I was missing anything.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I actually like that you brought that up, because me and William have only seen it twice in IMAX theater. So, of course,
The best experience possible.
yeah, so like that's cool, because that's like one thing that's always like been a complaint about, like, especially like Zack Snyder's Man of Steel and all that. Like people always complain about it being too dark. You can't see anything. Blah blah blah. That just seems like a complaint about that stuff all the time.
Yeah.
Yep.
And according to Wilkamz, your TV sucks. That's a complaint.
There's just some stuff. There's some stuff that's just filmed very poorly. Oh god, I can't remember what TV show it was. Actually,
Because that entire show is filmed poorly.
actually, yeah. There was something I was watching.
What
It was like
The Walking Dead.
Oh.
there was one that was like there was a TV show that I watched like a year ago, and I ended up quitting just because of the fact that I couldn't see a solid third of the show for like 2 episodes. I just couldn't see what was going on. I had the brightness on my TV all the way up. Now I don't have a super expensive TV, but I don't have
Was
a
it
bad
The
one by
Walking
any
Dead?
means. It was not The Walking Dead. I
okay.
gave up on that really early in its lifespan.
Yeah, same. I'm trying to think of dark shows.
I hope I can remember it. Well, I know one scene that did bug me but this isn't the show I was thinking of. It was actually in The Mandalorian. It was one of the night fights that they did when they were at the village.
Yeah.
And that was the complaint I had about that was, and now The Mandalorian, that was like one instance. It was a great show. I'm not complaining about the show in general. I'm talking about a show where it was a consistent nightmare to figure out what was going on. But that was one scene in The Mandalorian where I was like, the lighting was slightly off in certain shots. A lot of it you could understand what was going on, but then there were some shots where you're just like,
Yeah, dark doesn't mean turn off all the lights and film it. Dark means try to come up with creative ways to use lighting. Because you can use, you have to use lighting because of like, moonlight is a thing. And then street lights and, like, if you're say you're filming something in like a room where there's no like window light or anything, or like there are window coverings over it, then you could have like light coming from like a TV screen or something.
Well, and then also there's the suspension of disbelief.
Right.
Too. I remember Peter Jackson talked about that with Elijah. I think it was Elijah Wood that asked him about it. Maybe it wasn't Peter Jackson. It was someone on Lord of the Rings was talking to Elijah Wood, because Elijah Wood was like, "Hey, it's night. Why is it so bright?" And the guy's like, "Suspension of disbelief? Like, what do you want us to do? An invisible scene? Do you want to be invisible for 5 minutes?" Like, the audience understands this is a movie. As long as we're not like, "Hey, there's a spotlight right there, in the, trees of Lorien," people are gonna understand, "Oh, I'd rather see what's going on," and just be like, "Okay, it's a little brighter than it should be at night. Who cares?" So like that plays into it a lot.
Yeah, and you also have to you have lighting that's like not so out of place that it takes you out of it. Like just enough lighting to be like, okay, I understand what time of day it is, but not to the point where it's like it's as bright as day, but it's nighttime.
Right.
What?
And yeah, the color lighting as well comes into it. Like it's
right,
and especially it's more prevalent in fantasy, but it's become prevalent in a lot of movies and TV shows that I've seen. Is like nighttime filming is blue light. Yeah. And people just understand that we understand that no, the moonlight's not actually blue, but it's just hardwired into our brains now. Okay, it's dark. The lighting is blue. Oh, it's nighttime. At least I can see everything. Yeah. So that's just kind of a natural thing.
Yeah, in the Batman, it was like orange, but mainly because of like street lights and stuff.
Right, the city setting made a lot more sense with that.
Yeah, I think
but it still made it look like a dark and gloomy city.
Yeah,
even though it was very well lit.
I was really hoping in that scene where I think it was the first scene with him as Batman on the train platform. With the group of thugs. When the kid was getting initiated ran away, I was so hoping he was going to chase him down and just beat the crap out of him anyway. Like, I am vengeance. Just gone. That poor kid just loses an eye.
Like all these videos and memes that people make, and it's like posting, it's like POV when you park in the handicapped spot in Gotham, and then Batman shows up and he's like, "Are you handicapped?" He's still and stuff. Everybody said something like that to our group and on Instagram, but I've seen a few of those that are just like POV. You're in Gotham, and then it's like you do this.
I've only seen one. It was POV. You dive in a no diving zone in a pool, and he like dives in and then comes out, and then you just see the boots, and he's like, "No diving."
Oh god.
Stuff like that. It's like very inconvenient things that a superhero should not be punishing people.
Speaking of that beginning scene there, or like beginning scene for Batman, I really like how that's done, where he's given a little monologue, and then like all these like small time crimes are happening.
Petty crimes
are happening, but they see the bat symbol, and then like they see a dark alley, and like it's in their head like do I see Batman down there? Like, you know,
Yeah.
that I don't know. I thought it was a cool little.
It's a good intro.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it sets the tone really well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
No, go ahead. Yeah.
one thing that I love about the movie is that it focuses on Batman. Like, he's Bruce Wayne, like 5% of the movie.
Yeah.
And that's one thing that I think the other DC movies have struggled with. Is that I think the animated movies do really well is that the animated DC movies, they're always, almost constantly, in their superhero state. Like, they're always in costume, they're always in their superhero persona, and then hardly ever in their regular day-to-day life. And I think that this movie picked up on that really well and ran with it, because I just feel like that works better for DC characters than it does for Marvel, because Marvel focuses on the person inside the suit more than DC does. I don't know if that's true for some comics, because I haven't read a lot of comics, but it works for Marvel, and DC has been trying too hard to be Marvel, and this movie just goes like, nah.
Yeah.
We're gonna focus on the Batman, not the Bruce Wayne.
It also plays into like how he's still starting out.
Yeah.
Because like he hasn't figured out how to keep being Bruce Wayne. Like, he's completely focused on Batman.
Yeah.
And the only time he makes a public appearance as Bruce Wayne is when he is still working as Batman.
Yeah. That scene when he pulled up in that 60s Corvette, I was like, oh yeah, this is my Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of heard some complaints about that being a bad thing of him. They're like, didn't get enough Bruce Wayne, and I'm like, oh, that's not really a good complaint. It's not valid. Shut up.
This movie wasn't about Bruce Wayne.
Yeah.
I understand that sometimes it is, and I get that is, sometimes part of Batman.
Right.
But this movie was not about Bruce Wayne. It was about the Riddler and, a couple other minor plots beside it. But it was like, that was the focus of it. And I love that they didn't detract from it with horrible stakeholders meetings and stuff like this. Like, that just pull away from it.
Yeah.
The really only focus that Bruce Wayne had was when when the Riddler brought up his dad and was like bringing up his dad's past, and he's like trying to figure out what actually happened then.
Yeah.
And that's like the only stuff that really focuses on Bruce Wayne, because that's important to Bruce Wayne's character.
Right.
Yeah.
I will say, bit of a rewind here, but like we mentioned so many great casting choices, and I want to throw out one more that I really enjoyed was John Turturro as Falcone, however you want to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Like, I've enjoyed that guy as an actor in a number of things, and he's always been entertaining and very good at what he does, whatever he does. And I felt like he was I wasn't ready, I wasn't expecting him in that role, because I knew nothing about the movie before I watched it, but he was so good in that role and filled it so well.
Yeah, that was one of the casting choices that I didn't know of until I was watching the movie, and he popped up and I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I didn't know about him
I
before
did
the movie
really
either.
like
Yeah.
I can't remember his name, the guy who played him in the Nolan trilogy. He was a really good Falcone as well.
He was, yeah.
I don't even remember Falcone in the Nolan trilogy.
I think he was only in Batman Begins, because I think he dies in it.
Spoilers for that movie too, I guess.
Sorry. It's been out for like what, 10 years, maybe more.
14.
Somebody's watching this movie. He's like, I haven't watched that one yet.
I'm doing the Batman backwards. I'm waiting for all of the Batman movies to be released, and then I'll go back.
Welcome to Film Discussion Podcast, where we try to spoil as many movies in one podcast as we can.
The cripple is Kaiser Kose. Kaiser Soze.
Tom Wilkinson. Okay, yeah, I know now.
Tom Wilkinson, yeah.
Had to look it up. I know his face.
Oh my god. It's 17
Yeah.
years old?
Oh,
Oh, I'm getting
oh
so
my
old.
gosh.
Sorry. Sorry.
You can tell when I said 10 years. It's like, what? This is only 10 years old, right?
Well, now that we're on the topic of the Christopher Nolan movies, I want to bring something. Well, because one reason why I liked the Batman so much is because overall I wasn't very into the Christopher Nolan trilogy. I liked it. It was very good. Heath Ledger as the Joker is fantastic. I'm not doubting the highs of those movies. I don't doubt at all. But like, my problem that comes with it is Christian Bale as Batman. So, in my opinion, I don't know. He was kind of like one of the weakest links of the film, and that's not a good thing for the main character. That's how I figure.
Great disagrees.
I know.
Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say that Christian Bale was the best Batman, because he wasn't. I would never go that far, but he fit the role that he was given. I legitimately feel like Christopher Nolan played what. Oh my god, English is hard for me tonight. Names are the worst. Jesus Christ. Christian Bale played Nolan's Batman the way Nolan wrote it, the way Nolan directed it, and I felt like he did a very good job in the setting that he had.
I agree with that. Yeah.
I definitely don't. I wouldn't go as far as saying he's a bad Batman, but like for me, it was kind of like the takeaway with those films. So it was cool to see a really, really good Batman.
Yeah.
So
I think
that was one of the reasons my not distaste for the Christopher Nolan trilogy, but more of like I'm kind of like a middle ground with it. Because of that, this movie had more of an impact on me.
I can agree with that. The Christopher Nolan movies were definitely built for a specific audience, and it did very well because the Christopher Nolan movies, let's be honest, helped start this whole superhero fad.
Oh yeah,
like they're among the beginning. They weren't the first, but they were among the beginning of the action-heavy superhero beat 'em up, genre of films that have spawned, since like mid 2000s. So it filled its role very well. And I think a really interesting segue is because a lot of people are trying to compare Heath Ledger's Joker to Paul Dano's Riddler. A lot of people are like, oh, they're both unhinged, they're both a little, different and everything. And I don't really like making that comparison personally.
Yeah, they're very different.
They are. And I've seen like 3 or 4 articles trying to compare them, and a couple of them have come back saying how his Riddler doesn't stack up and the Batman villains because of Heath Ledger's Joker being so iconic. And don't get me wrong, Heath Ledger was an amazing actor, and his Joker was iconic for a number of reasons. But Heath Ledger's Joker, and I feel like if Heath Ledger's Joker had had the second film that Christopher Nolan originally wanted, I felt like he would have been more fleshed out, and the character would have gotten more investment from me. But the thing that I think really bugged me about Heath Ledger's Joker was there's no real backstory to him. You know what I mean? He's just this crazy guy who's out here doing crazy things for the sake of being crazy. And he even said that, multiple times. Some people just like to watch the world burn, Batman. Like he made it very clear that he's just screwing around and having fun while doing it. Whereas this Riddler had such a purpose, such a drive, and despite all the horrible things he's doing, by the end, you still feel bad for this guy. Because he's obviously mentally unwell, and he's been beaten, bruised, and just torn apart by a system that is built to do that. So like he's done all these horrible things. So while Heath Ledger's Joker was iconic for all these reasons, and his death definitely spurred that iconicness to new heights for sure, because it was the last huge thing that he did, and a lot of people attribute that to his death. So that's definitely, in my opinion, what really spurred it on to new heights. This Riddler, I felt, had a whole other layer of depth that we saw. Like Ledger's Joker definitely had a lot of depth and stuff behind it that I feel like we might have seen in the second, what would have been the third movie in the trilogy, but the second of Ledger's Batman movies. I felt like we would have had more to it that would have really developed it as a more rounded character. But we didn't get that. We were cheated out of that by the unfortunate and horrible fact that he died. Whereas this Riddler, I felt like we were given that nice summed up in this one film.
Yeah.
I totally agree. Marvel, take notes of Paul Dano's window, because that's how you write a villain that you can sympathize with. I hate the fact that some people actually sympathize with Thanos so much that it makes me dislike Thanos.
I don't
cannot
get it.
stand that. I cannot stand that. Thanos is a decent villain. He's not a great villain by any means.
You don't sympathize with Thanos? Are you telling me if you could just snap your fingers and kill half of the people, you wouldn't do it?
Well, I mean, yeah, I would.
Exactly.
But in the terms
Got
of this discussion, he's not a great villain by any means.
And Josh Brolin, that's not discrediting Josh Brolin at all.
Oh no, he did.
I love Josh Brolin. Yeah. But no, Thanos, in my opinion, was just kind of boring.
I agree.
As a villain, he wasn't a bad villain by any means, but I just felt like there wasn't much to it. But to be fair, that kind of reiterates everything I felt about DC for the past 7-8 years now. Is okay, it's kind of boring, but it's not like the production quality is cool, and you have some great actors and some cool action scenes, but the rest of it's kind of boring.
Yeah. But I do definitely want to go back and watch the Christopher Nolan ones, because it's been a long time since I've watched them.
I watched Batman Begins not too long after I watched this one. They are very different films, but they are both good, very good in their own. They are both exactly what they wanted to be, and they're both exactly what they needed to be. It's hard to compare them because they're so different. But I still thoroughly enjoy Batman Begins. I haven't watched the other two in a while. Dark Knight Rises was my least favorite of the three, which I don't think anyone would argue with that.
The Dark Knight Rises was an unfortunate result of Heath Ledger's death. Let's call it what it is. I mean, Tom Hardy, fantastic actor, but you can tell that Christopher Nolan had to completely write a whole new movie and just change his whole universe because he didn't want to replace Ledger, which is the right decision.
I think me and William have some things to say, because I'm pretty sure me and William are thinking the exact same thing with Dark Knight Rises right now, and Tom Hardy and stuff.
I was just gonna say that Tom Hardy stuff is the only stuff I remember from that movie.
Yeah.
Right.
Because it's the best part.
And he's not even like a good Bane. Like, he's a completely different character from what Bane is in everything else. Like, he's completely different. He's a good character, but he's not Bane.
He didn't need to be Bane.
Yeah, Bane is just dumb muscle.
I'm pretty sure that in the comics he is actually like extraordinarily strategic and smart. I could be wrong with that. I haven't read any of the comics, but from what I've heard from osmosis, Christopher Nolan's portrayal of Bane was closer to the comics.
The few instances I've seen,
back that up.
Yeah.
So
I would have
don't
to
take
ask.
that word.
I would
Don't
have to
take
ask
that.
which comics. I don't know. I've never seen.
Yeah.
The only time everything I've seen with Bane is he's like gigantic because he is injecting
I
himself
think he
with
is.
venom.
I think he is bigger in the comics for sure.
oh,
but
yeah,
I think
so
he
he's
the
is
size
still
of like three
smaller.
people. He's the size of like
Yeah.
3 or 4
Yeah.
people.
The instances I've seen Bane, he's always been easily manipulated. Like, it's,
Yeah.
his
Yeah.
instance is usually him being-
Poison Ivy would like.
Yeah, it's usually
control
Poison
him.
Ivy or someone using him to do something, which I think is where the image of Bane being not intelligent comes from, which is a fair assessment in a lot of the instances.
But I haven't read like a ton of DC comics either, so like I haven't. Yeah.
But my big complaint with The Dark Knight Rises was, Tom Hardy did so well. By the end, or close to the end, it just gets completely undermined by, oh, this Gore was the villain the entire time.
Oh yeah, with Tasha
Yeah.
Al Ghul.
Yeah. I thought
Yeah.
that was the stupidest thing ever. It just
Yeah.
undermines everything Bane did. Because
Well, I mean, hey, he was getting manipulated by a woman. Hey, we just talked about this.
Yeah.
well,
Yeah,
I guess
or
that's true.
Talia Al Ghul. Tasha. Christ. Names. I'm not good with names, guys.
That was
But no, it wasn't a great twist. I didn't love the twist, but like I said, I kind of discount that movie because you can tell it was all a
yeah.
a frenetic rewrite after Heath Ledger's
With
accident.
that movie literally being the longest of the three doesn't really help matters, I think.
Yeah, I can agree
I'm
with
pretty
that.
sure it's like almost 20 minutes longer than The Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah.
So yeah. Back to the Batman.
Back to the Batman.
We've been dancing around this movie for so long.
Yeah, it leads to so many other movies.
Yeah.
So much of it is context, though.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah.
Because it's so
Yeah.
much easier to talk about a movie in comparison to other things we've seen, especially stuff in the same,
Especially something that's
namesake.
been done as much as Batman.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked the nightclub scenes in
Yeah.
Yeah.
the Batman because that's another thing that I felt they filmed very well. There's a lot of movies that film, especially fight scenes in a setting like that. It can get very frantic. It can get very hard to keep up with, and like enjoy. It's more just a shot. Here's like just a lot of different quick shots where I felt like that one you didn't lose sight of what was going on, despite of everything around it as well.
I can't
Yeah.
stand the flash. See a guy punching here, and then the neck pitch black, and
flash,
flash,
cut.
and it's like
Yeah.
this guy's over here. I was like, when did that happen? How many people did he fight between those two flashes? I don't know.
And
Yeah.
the first time I saw it, that was cool, and then every time I've seen it since, I'm like, okay, we can back off of this, please.
Oh wait, are you talking about the flash scene in the movie, or I thought you were talking about other
No, I'm talking
club
about just like
scenes?
nightclub fight.
Oh,
This
okay.
like how what's the thing? I wasn't talking
The flashing
Okay.
lights.
Like the strobe light effect that they
Yeah.
do sometimes.
Right.
black.
Now the dark hallway scene where you only see the muzzle flashes as he's fighting. I thought that was cool. I did like that.
That was cool.
But yeah, that also wasn't a nightclub fight scene. That was set
Right.
up with him against this group of 4 or
Yeah.
5 guys. So like that was done well
Yeah.
because you didn't lose track of what was going on.
And it also like it's a really cool action scene without you seeing very much action.
Right.
Like I don't know. This movie really doesn't have a whole lot of action in it.
Yeah.
But
No.
when those scenes happen like that, like you remember them.
Oh, you know what else I loved about this movie that I don't think I've seen in any other Batman movie? At the very end, when he's like helping the relief of helping people get people out from under rubble, getting people out from under the like flooding and stuff.
Yeah.
Like he's helping the city with just this big, massive catastrophic event that happened.
Yeah.
And it really showed him as a hero. Which in all the other Batman movies, you've seen him as the hero.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. There's something about showing him helping the city in those situations that
you always see him fighting the villain, but never doing the cleanup afterwards, and just helping the innocent bystanders that were wounded in that or whatever had happened. Yeah.
Well, it was especially like it was like during sunrise or something too. Like that was like one of the first instances you'll see of Batman in recent film in daylight out helping people. You know, like you could tell that like he was really trying. And piggybacking off of that, like something that I found really interesting was, you know, a lot of superhero movies shy away from a lot of death. You know, they don't want, or like a lot of people will retaliate with the Thanos snap, but it got unsnapped and everyone knew it was going to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And everyone knew it was going to get undone. The superheroes were going to win that. Marvel wasn't going to end that on a bad note.
Right.
Well, permanently. And so like to have the dams break, to have, you know, these people drowning, people got shot from the guys who were up top.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, there was a large amount of casualties that day. Like they didn't shy away from that. Yeah. And I very much appreciated that, which that fits with the tone of the whole movie, but it was still nice to see it because they could have definitely been like, let's just pretend like this didn't happen.
Yeah. Plus, you know, he's all the murder victims too from Riddler,
right.
Like
yeah.
And then you get you got that actually shows that stuff. And then you just get like the Avenger movies where it's just like you just see city destruction and everything, but you don't actually see anybody getting hurt.
There's never a body.
Yeah.
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 This movie was rated PG-13, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It was a good PG-13.
Yeah.
Yep.
I watched and I had to look it up because I was like, I could see this not having been PG-13.
Yeah, you can see it slipping into R there a few times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, just the way the first guy gets killed.
Yeah.
just watching that guy get his brains beaten out of him with that carpet tool. I was like, whew, wasn't ready for that. And really,
literally had his head explode. He's got this bomb strapped to his neck. His head explodes, technically.
Yeah, it was definitely pushing R.
When we went out, I remember, because I didn't know what it was rated. I never saw it rating or anything. But then when we came out of the theater, I was like, I saw it and I was like, oh, that was PG-13.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a hard line.
Yeah. They wrote it close. The Batmobile scene.
Ooh. Did you guys notice it stalled out, but everyone was too busy crapping their pants to notice?
the stalled out? The
Batmobile stalled out.
Like when he started to go. I couldn't tell if that was he stalled it or if he was just jumping jumping real quick to scare them or something.
I think he stalled it.
I think he stalled it.
I think he stalled it.
It's kind of.
I don't know a lot about cars, so I could be completely wrong about that. But I'm pretty sure he stalled it.
It now that you mention that, it did kind of look like that.
Yeah. I sent a video to you, William. So but I don't know TikTok if the other two. Yeah. About the sound design of the Batmobile.
Yeah.
Which is
so
beautiful.
Good. So good.
Yeah.
I agree.
It's basically they wanted it, since you hear it before you see it, they wanted it to have just that real scary horror vibe to it. So the sound designer, I don't know his name, was trying to figure out some way to have that just intense giving you the fight or flight response from hearing it, and he landed on the sound of a bottle rocket, and he put it into a program and stretched it out and elongated it, and then just layered it so it just sounds like it's just got this high pitched scream to it when he starts up, and it definitely gives you that feel of I'm about to die. And you're not sure, like, what's making that sound.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it was great.
Yeah.
That was a scene that, in my opinion, the whole chase was like that was the largest suspension of disbelief in the whole film. Mm-hmm. By and large, you know, like the jump and everything, like. Yeah. But it didn't feel like it. Because, like, if you step back and take a look at it compared to the rest of the movie, it does stand out for that reason. It is the most fantastical part of the film. It is the part that definitely you just have to sit back and enjoy. But even then, it doesn't feel like it. 'Cause it was so well done, so enjoyable, but it didn't dominate the film either. It wasn't a 20-minute thing, or like a lot of the Batman Begins. Like, how much of the movie is spent actually focused on that car? Like, you don't really realize it until you think about it, but a lot of that movie is like, look at how cool this car is. You know, in that one, they're like, hey, look at our cool car. Okay, the car chase is done. Bye. You know, so like it was. Yeah. I like how it wasn't. I didn't feel like it was a focal piece of the movie. It was an accent to it.
Yeah.
Right.
I like the way they filmed it too. Because, like, it is, you know, the biggest suspension of disbelief, especially when he, like, does the jump thing. But, like, up until that point, the way that it's, like, it feels like you're in it. It's very rainy. You can't see that dirtying up the lens again. Like, you can't see very well. Yep. Kind of like... It's like their vision is at that point. Like, they can't see all that well. It's pouring down rain. And then there's a high-speed, you know, car chase going on in the middle of it.
Right.
Yeah. I like the way they did it a lot.
Yeah. Yes, it was a very well done scene.
I just appreciate how they didn't shy away from, like you were saying, like dirtying up the camera. Like in a lot of car chase scenes, like they at night specifically, they won't have like they'll have to paste in the car lights and After Effects because you have to be able to see the actors at all time. You have to see what's going on inside the car. There's so many scenes in that chase where because of the lights, because of the framing, you just see the car. You see the front end of the car barely and everything. And I appreciated that they didn't shy away from it because it just. With it being the biggest suspension of disbelief, that does bring the reality back into it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I also like, because how you guys were talking about and the stuff, how it's kind of like a little bit out there in terms of the rest of the movie. I don't want to say it might have been intentional, but I kind of get the feeling that this might have been one of the first times that this Batman actually used it, since it is the year 2 Batman. Maybe this was like the debut of the Batmobile, you know?
Oh, I think so. Because
you can see him working on it.
You see him working on it earlier on, and he was mostly riding his bike all the time. Like, I do think that that's the first time that he uses it.
Okay, I kind of missed that.
I remember a part early in the film where you could see like the engine was on a hoist, like next to the car.
When he comes into
the
Batcave and he like takes his contact camera thing out, it's like in the background.
Yeah, I missed that too.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think you're right. I think it's the first time he uses it. Probably why he stalled it out.
Probably, yeah.
I was about to
but
say,
everyone's too busy being scared, crapping themselves that they don't notice.
Yeah.
Just like, run! Get out of here!
You just hear Brevin. Crap.
Come on!
Yeah, I like
They're
that.
getting away!
Even when he's still a little rough around the edges and stuff, he's still just making people crap themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still new to it, but he's still terrifying the city villains, you know?
Yeah. What other aspects have we not talked about?
We haven't talked about Zoe Kravitz at all.
Yeah.
Is that
I think
Catwoman.
I prefer her Catwoman over Anne Hathaway's by a heavy margin.
Oh yeah.
I don't. A lot of
Yes.
people said that they really enjoyed Anne Hathaway as Catwoman. I was like, I just don't think she was a good pick. I think she was probably the weakest casting decision in the entire Nolan trilogy, in my opinion.
Yeah.
I wouldn't argue that.
I remember
know, I felt like with
disliking her
her-
very much in that one. So.
I felt like with her, they were trying to like channel Michelle Pfeiffer's Catwoman
Yeah.
in some ways, but still get it modern and hip. And I just felt like her Catwoman it fell flat.
Yeah.
But Zoe
And I don't
Kravitz,
know if that
liked-
came from the writing or from her performance or from a little bit of both. I feel like it's more from her performance, because I think I just don't think Anne Hathaway was a good pick for Catwoman. But Zoe Kravitz was a really good Catwoman. She was a perfect choice.
Yeah.
And the reason I think that was is because she was like a real person, first and foremost. Like you got to see her struggles.
Yeah.
You got to
Yeah.
like you knew she was Catwoman, obviously,
Yeah.
but like you don't really see her as Catwoman. You see her as, you know, Falcone's daughter who is having all of these issues. Her friend died and all that. So I saw her more as that character rather than just another iteration of Catwoman.
Yeah.
That's another thing that you kind of appreciate about this movie, is you can get so drawn into it, and the characters and the actors do such a good job that sometimes you don't even see these people playing the same role as this person did 20 years ago or something, you know?
Yeah.
Like it's just so well done. But yeah, she was really good. I definitely really liked the fact that she was a daughter to Falcone and stuff. That story, that kind of like side storyline, it was really well done.
Yeah. She was she played that role really well. I think, I could be wrong about this, but I think she auditioned for Catwoman in Nolan's trilogy, but Nolan said she was too urban, so she didn't get it. And now she is Catwoman in this, and a better Catwoman than the one we got in the Nolan trilogy, in my opinion.
Yeah. For real.
Nobody in this podcast disagrees with that statement. Yeah, honestly, Anne Hathaway was so bad that I completely forgot until you. It was even in that movie. I just so
Like, I
forget-
think Anne Hathaway is a good actress. I've seen her in things
Oh,
where
yeah.
I like enjoy her performance, but there's just as Catwoman, I don't think she was a good pick for that role.
Yeah, I still stand behind the fact that I think that was also. I think they tried to. I don't know. I feel like they tried to turn her into like an Ocean's 11 character. You
Yeah.
know, this like suave art thief, and I felt like it didn't fit with the tone of what the rest of the movie was.
Yeah,
And so while I agree that I felt like it was poorly played, I still feel like there was some poor
Some
decision making
writing.
on how her character was developed for sure.
yeah. It's probably a bit of both.
Yeah. But Zoe Kravitz was great.
Yeah.
There was a
Yeah.
pro-development in the movie. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do like how they play up the relationship between him and her. Batman and herself. I felt
Yeah.
like they did a good job of that without oversaturating it or turning it into some kind of horrible love story or just like
that was one thing I was really worried about going into the movie. Was there
Yeah.
together.
as soon as I saw him creeping on her with the binoculars in that first scene where he's like watching her at her apartment, I was like, oh no. It's about to turn into a romance film.
When I heard people talking about it beforehand, with saying that it was going to focus on the relationship. I was like,
please no.
oh no, okay, it's gonna be a good movie except this bad B plot. But they intermingled it, whatever that word is that I'm looking for. They did that really well, keeping that in pace and in tone with the rest of the story. Like, it didn't feel out of place at all.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. And I do very much like the decision of Batman not taking her up on her offer there at the end. Because that was the last scene, and you just saw Batman kind of rising up as the hero, helping the people with this, situation that they're in, with all this flooding. So it was very nice. I thought that was very well done for the end scene to be him basically toning her down with that offer of like, hey, let's just run off together, the bat and the cat, that kind of thing. I thought that was a very well-fitting ending for the film.
When I saw that offer, I was like, well, this is where they decide if they're making a new movie or not. This is where you find out if there's a part 2 or not.
Yeah.
Has it been announced? I think it's been announced.
Yeah.
They're working on it.
Matt Reeves and Robert Pattinson are coming back to make it. Which, I was like, well, obviously they're making a second one. But then when I saw it, and Matt Reeves is connected, I was like, oh yeah, I guess it could have been someone else. They could have gotten someone else to direct it.
Another one. At least we're getting the same people involved.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'm just happy it's the same people involved, because I have a feeling that Robert Pattinson probably would have been back, but like, if it wasn't Matt Reeves coming back, I'd be like, I'm scared.
And there's always a chance. And there's always a chance he can get removed. If he's taking the movie, because now that the Batman was moderately successful, the production company might want to have a stronger hand. And well, we think the audience would prefer to see this, that, or the other, which is why a lot of directors leave the sequel.
Yeah.
And so there's still a chance it could be horribly, horribly off par.
And he might not leave, but the studio might be still getting their grubby little hands on it and change it to something completely different.
All too common.
Like to do that.
Yep. Yeah.
Remember what happened last time when we got a different director doing a sequel? The Last Jedi? That was fun.
The Last Shrek. Sorry, I don't know why I thought about Shrek. Next movie discussion, we're going to cover every single Shrek, including video games and or TV specials.
I actually have the Shrek 2 PS2 game because Colin told me as a joke.
Perfect. Perfect.
I just need PS2 and now I'll be able to play it. I'll stream it.
Here we go.
Actually would though. I would totally stream that game just for laughs.
Just get a PS2 and do it.
I do. Next paycheck, I'll start looking up on eBay and stuff, trying to get one. You can edit all that out, William. not everything, because some of that's gold, but this part that I'm talking and running my mouth, definitely edit that.
I was gonna say you should edit out the part where he talked about editing it out.
Yeah, and edit out the part that Gray talked about me editing it out. You edit that out too.
I'm not gonna edit this. I'm just posting it as is.
That's fair.
Yep.
Well, I guess Ian just called it a day. He was like, all right, bye.
Well,
I got started here, so
let's see. Anybody think of anything else that they want to add on the Batman?
Was there anything you all didn't like about it?
That's a good question, actually.
Because the only thing that really bothered me was that end fight scene. And not that the fight scene itself was bad, it just started to feel like a different movie. I can't really explain it.
You're talking about the part up on like the lighting and scaffolding?
Yeah,
up top?
yeah. When he's fighting all those Riddler,
Worshippers.
yeah,
The cult of Riddlers.
yeah, whatever they call themselves.
I could see why it feels a bit like an outlier, but I felt like it was necessary to the film.
Yeah, it still feels necessary. It just I don't know. It's hard for me to explain. There was just something about that fight that was, and it happened to me the second time I watched it too. I was like, there's something about it that made me feel like it was just a normal old superhero movie, and the rest of the movie hadn't. And I don't know what it is, because it still feels necessary, and like of course it was going to happen, but I don't know.
Well, I think so. Part of it for me was the hanging off the edge thing, because that's in every movie. If there's a fight anywhere near height, there's gonna be a moment of he's on the edge, like, you know. So like that, which once again I get. And then also when he takes the shotgun to the chest and goes down, you know, those were the two moments where I was like, I get it, I don't mind it, I don't hate it. But those were two of the moments, because like the adrenaline shot thing, I thought that was really cool how he used that to get back going. I really liked that. I'm not complaining about it, but like I felt like maybe it was slightly played like oh no, is Batman gonna die? You know, and I'm like, we know he's not. You know, like, so I kind of understand where you're coming from with that. Even though I do think it's necessary. It was a part of the film. It was going to be a part of the film at some point, because it has to be.
I do appreciate though that even though it showed several times that he has bulletproof armor, I do appreciate that the shotgun blast at point blank range still knocked the air out of him.
Oh,
and like,
yeah.
Because you know, even if it stops the bullet, that still is gonna knock you back. Like that still has a lot of force. So I do appreciate that little bit about it.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. I want to know what kind of armor he's using.
Yeah, people have a very false narrative on body armor.
Yeah. Just because it stops doesn't mean there's no damage.
Yeah, he's got the highest level body armor, and then he's got like 3 plates of it.
So that scene in Breaking Bad when the guy's selling the body armors to the twins, and he's like, "Yep, I'd never leave the house without one," and he shoots him, and he just flies back, and he's like, "Oh, I think you broke my ribs."
Yep. That definitely happened. Yeah.
You gotta stop people a little bit. You might break something.
Yeah.
So outside of the gliding scene and the scaffolding, was there anything actually that stood out to you guys in terms of more of a negative? Not necessarily that you disliked, but that you watched the film and you're like, okay.
The one shot with his, like that GoPro shot that we talked about a lot earlier was one. It was just like a small nitpick negative thing.
Yeah.
With like how well the rest of the cinematography was, that did just kind of stand out a lot. And not in the movie, but it was very so.
When I saw that scene, all I could think of was that video of that little kid on the zip line with the GoPro strapped on top of his head. He's like, "Wow, wow!" Like that was what the shot reminded me of so strongly, and I just couldn't get it out of my head.
You gotta send me that video. I've never seen that.
I'll get it to you.
Honestly, the thing that stuck out the most to me, and this is little because you know Hollywood doesn't know their gun stuff too well. Although Gordon had good trigger discipline, I will say that. But at the funeral, and they're like expecting, you know, the Riddler to show up or whatever. So there's cops everywhere. The cops on the balcony have their guns and they're just pointing them down like at the people. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Firearm safety rules.
Fire.
Like, number one, you don't point at anything you're not willing to destroy.
Yep.
I was like, what are these guys doing?
Those guys would be fired in a heartbeat.
That is honestly what stuck out the most to me.
They're gonna be
in this film.
I honestly didn't even notice that.
Yeah, I was just like, they're just pointing their guns at the crowd of people. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I did appreciate how, besides that point, how consistent some of the gun stuff was, like with his body armor and stuff, and the shotgun blast and stuff. Like it was pretty consistent. But I'm also not a huge gun expert. I know the basics, I guess.
There was a couple instances where his body armor survived more shots than most body armor realistically would.
yeah,
Because like body armor isn't made to withstand 40 rounds. You know, it's just
Yeah.
it's not. It's body armor is supposed to get you through a couple rounds, and I mean, of course, there's always going to be more expensive, and it's a comic book movie.
yeah. He's also a billionaire,
But-
so
Yeah,
that's the other thing. That's the. I mean, that's like the excuse to always fall back on with Bruce
oh
Wayne
yeah.
stuff. But
Well,
I mean,
and
you
they
know,
actually talked about it in the Nolan film.
yeah.
Like the Kevlar, and they're like, well, why wouldn't you put this out? Because an average U.S. Army soldier isn't worth, was it like $500,000 or something like that?
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
yeah. So I get it.
Yeah.
Like that's the same thing with Tony Stark. Well, he's a billionaire, so.
Yep.
And a genius.
So yeah, he's got the highest level armor. He's made 4 layers of it in his suit, you know, and then when one does get thrown, you know, through, he can pop that off and then pop another one on to replace. And
So he's just playing Warzone all the time.
yeah, just putting plates back in.
Just- oh my god. I want to see that edit. Where he uses the dark, disappears around the corner, you see him.
Yeah. Just takes like a ton of shots. He's like, oh crap, that was close. Let me get some more in here real quick. Where's he at?
Crap, I'm on the last plate. Hold on. Got like a bunch of plates. in the back.
Alfred, I need more plates. This guy's got some big guns.
Gosh.
Oh.
Half of his budget would go to the plates.
For real. Probably does.
Did anyone else have anything else to say about the Batman?
I've been lying the entire time. I think this movie sucks.
All right. Well,
Wow.
I'm just kidding. That's just the thing I do in these podcast stuff.
Have all of you seen the deleted scene that they released of the Joker?
Yeah.
Yes.
If you haven't seen it, the people who are watching, go watch it because it's amazing.
We're gonna talk about it real quick. Because I have some things. I don't dislike it. And I, of course, don't dislike the ending scene with him in it.
Mm.
But I'm glad it was the deleted scene. Because by
Yes.
this point, me personally, I'm so sick of the Joker that this movie was so refreshing to not see him in. I love the
True.
Joker.
Yeah.
I love a lot of, Mark Hamill,
I
Joker stuff,
I love that he went to him as a consultant.
Yeah.
Rather than him being like he's already been caught. He's already just there.
Yeah. He's been caught
just-
for like a year. He says
Yeah.
it's our anniversary coming up. You know, like, so even if it wasn't a deleted scene, like, the movie still decided to skip over Batman and Joker for their first encounter.
Yeah, I agree with Ian. I'm glad that they did that. I think the movie that scene would fit in the movie just fine. But yeah, I am also glad that they decided to leave the Joker out of this one.
Yeah.
And I think I read somewhere, I remember reading somewhere that the reason they actually ended up deleting that scene was because they didn't love that version of the Joker. Like they're like, we want to like still be developing the Joker. And I think I read somewhere, I'm trying to find it right now.
Understandable though.
But I read somewhere that they were like, we're still trying to figure out the Joker, which is why we took that scene out, because we weren't sure that was how we want it to be. And it was kind of implied that they're like, we don't think we even want Batman to have faced the Joker yet. We don't know if we want it to be where he's faced him as the Joker. It might be that he's faced him, but this character hasn't become the Joker yet. Like he's in Arkham, but we don't they're like, we don't think he's fully developed the persona yet. He hasn't become the Joker yet. So it sounds like
that makes sense.
It sounds like that. From what I read, I can't find the article. I know I read it in like 2 places, and that's the main gist from it. Was like, we don't know if he is actually the Joker yet, but that scene was amazing.
I do really
that scene was
like
filmed
the actor.
so well.
Yeah,
he's good.
Yeah.
I love that he's good. I love that he took the Joker and made it his own, but also like pulled from other Jokers. Like you could see Heath Ledger's performance in there a little bit. Like he took some of the stuff that Heath Ledger did, sprinkled it into his performance, but still made it his own.
Yep. I really loved, my favorite thing about that scene was how they shot it.
Yeah.
Because like it's so unclear.
I agree completely.
So
you don't get a clear look at him.
Like you spend the whole scene just straining to figure out, what does he look like? What is this Joker iteration? And once again, we know that there's a chance that might not even be what he finally looks like. But I just love the way it was so well shot.
Yeah. Where they focused on the screen, screen and glass, whatever those, like, I don't know what you even call those, the like metal, like cage thing in the glass. I don't even know what you call that, but that they focused on that, so that way you could see the Joker, but he was so out of focus you couldn't really see him. Yeah.
It's one of the best deleted scenes I've ever seen, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm being completely honest.
Yeah.
But yeah,
like most of the times you watch a deleted scene, you can tell why it was deleted, because it like messes with pacing or wasn't as well done as the rest of the film. It just messes with the flow of the film most of the time, so you can tell why it's deleted. But this one, it was just as good as the rest of the movie, and so you're just like, well, why did they delete it? But now that Gray has enlightened me, I completely understand, and I am honestly happy with that decision that they're still developing the character a little bit more, so they didn't really want to leave that in there and then be stuck with that iteration.
Yeah.
Because of that, I'm actually gotta say that I'm kind of excited for this Joker.
I still kind of hope they wait a little bit longer before they show us Joker. I hope that if they get to make a third one, that it's in the third one, not in the next one. Personally,
I just love the people that are angry that it's not Joaquin Phoenix, and I'm like, it's not the same thing. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. Well, I'm not getting into that. We can talk about that movie in a discussion later because but
his performance was fantastic though. It was so good.
Yes, but it wasn't made for this.
Yeah, they're two separate entities.
Completely separate.
Yep.
I really enjoyed this film, and I think it is a fantastic Batman film. I'm hesitant to give it a 10 out of 10, and I'm not sure why, so I'm not going to give it a 10 out of 10. I'm probably 9, I think. Somewhere in the 8 or 9 range. Solid 9. I'm gonna leave it. 9.
I
Ian?
guess I'll go next. It's weird, this category, because from my point of view, it's Nathaniel, Gray, me, then you. So
Oh.
anyway, that doesn't matter. So after seeing it 2 times, I can safely say that this is my favorite Batman film.
I would agree with that, honestly.
I love it. Fantastic. Really, the only thing that kind of like was negatives were very, very minor things that did not affect or take you out of the all around the experience of the movie. It was just fantastic all around. Casting was great. Music, we didn't really go into music, but the music was great. So good that after seeing it for the first
Something in the way.
I went and pre-ordered a vinyl soundtrack of it with a 3-disc thing, which I wish I had now, because then I could display it in my background. But unfortunately, but yeah, that's how good. That's the impression that the soundtrack left on me. I literally just, after first viewing, just went and bought it, and it's just a great film. So I'm gonna give it a 9 out of 10 also, and I highly recommend it.
Trey?
Can't really say much more than's already been said. Yeah, I'd give it a solid 9 out of 10. I don't really like giving 10 out of 10 because I just feel like you can't really go up from there. You know, and every movie, no matter how great it is, I always feel like there's more we could do, no matter how little it is. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Just great all around, great ambiance. They handled the universe so well without muddying everything up.
Cool. I absolutely love this movie. It is also my favorite Batman film. I'm also giving it a 9 out of 10.
Wow, unanimous. That never happens.
9 out of 10 all around. Has that never happened before?
I feel like it's happened at least once. I don't remember what movie it was.
I think, did we all give? I don't remember. I feel like we did sometime, but I can't remember.
I don't remember either.
I have to go back and.
Yeah.
Anybody knows? In the comments section below, put your movie discussion trivia.
But yeah, if you made it this far, thanks for watching the whole video. I will link all of these guys' YouTubes on the end screen here. Got Film and Thespian, The Metal Gladiator, and Strabismal. Yeah, thanks for watching.
And don't forget to vote on your favorite of the 3 names for our podcast.
Yes, put that in the comments below. Vote on it, and also keep the discussion going. Tell us what you think of this movie, and I don't know, name your top 3 Batmans.
That's what we're wrong on.
What?
I said, tell us what we're wrong about.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Tell us what we're wrong. And
I'm gonna get hated for my comments about Thanos, though.
Probably. Yeah, everyone's gonna come over to this video just to give you hate.
That would bring me joy.
Yeah, they're gonna sift through the hour and a half of content just to find that and talk crap.
Yeah.
That would bring me joy, honestly.
But yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next one. Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.